Hey guys, I'm Hamilton.
I'm Ingrid, and we are the
Twin Soul Poets.
And welcome to our first episode of The Love Seat, where we are going to be starting with a series of videos talking about porn addiction in relationships and how to navigate that. And it's tough, right? I mean, it can be
It
tough.
is, man.
It can be
It's
scary.
definitely not easy. It's been a while since we posted a video. I had been doing a little series of video logs, sort of chronicling my journey through trying to face a porn addiction, and I kind of stopped because I kept relapsing, and I just didn't feel good about making videos and being like, oh, I keep relapsing. So, but yeah, I haven't stopped trying to get sober in that time, and I did have a few comments from people that were viewing my previous videos asking, are you going to have your wife on there? Are you going to have your wife talk about going through this together? And so here she is.
Here I am. And that's when we kind of noticed too, like we had talked about doing this for a while, and as I started getting into it and learning more about it myself and looking at like guys talking about NoFap and people talking about porn addiction, and something that I noticed was really missing was the conversation about relationships and like how porn addiction affects relationships, how to deal with it in relationships, in your marriage or while dating. And it just really wasn't there. It was very quiet on that end, and we felt like that was an opportunity to share our story, and hopefully like help other people while we're also healing ourselves by opening up about what it's like.
Yeah, and it's not easy, guys, I will say, or girls, it's not all men who are dealing with porn addiction, but it's really not easy to face that shame and to reach out and tell people, especially people who you're very close to, especially your significant other. But taking that step is really, really important. And, I will say not only is it kind of a missing conversation from like the online NoFap community, but just recovery conversation in general. I've been going to 12-step meetings for getting sober. And even in there, like I hear a lot of advice from people who have been going to meetings for a long time, saying, oh, be careful about how much you share with your wife or significant other. It's going to cause problems in the relationship. You're going to burden them too much. They're not your wife isn't your sponsor. Your wife is not your accountability partner. A lot of talk like that, and I don't know. What do you think about that? How did you feel when I told you that I had a porn addiction? How did you feel when I asked you to help by like putting blockers on my computer and your computer and taking your computer to work? How did you feel with all that?
I mean, it's definitely been a journey. I think whenever you first told me, like, I did not have any sense of the gravity of what that meant. I knew that he watched porn. I didn't think that was particularly unusual. I've watched porn in the past. It's not really something I'm super into, but like, no judgments to anybody who watches it. It was just more so as we went along and as he started trying to stop it, and as I saw like very real withdrawal symptoms, as I began to realize that a lot of the conflict that we would have in our relationship was very much in sync with the times that he had either just watched porn or was trying to stop, and like these puzzle pieces kind of started to come together, and I really started to respect the fact that this is very real. Just from someone who's not even directly the person dealing with the addiction, but the person who's being affected, it is so real, and then the withdrawal is so real. So that my first response was kind of like not really anything particular because I hadn't been through it, and what my thought is about them saying that maybe in some of these recovery places is that like I completely disagree. I feel like ever since we've been more transparent or had the agreement to kind of work together as a team on this, our relationship has been infinitely more like connected, loving, understanding, just powerful in general, beautiful. For me, the times where I felt like once I knew that he had the addiction and I had the sense that he was hiding, it really did not help my sense of trust. my sense of intimacy, my sense of like feeling like I was in a partnership, because so much about our relationship and the way we built a relationship is about this sense of being a team, and it did not feel that way.
And let's be clear, like, there are very tough conversations involved in being totally out in the open about it, especially when there's like continual relapse happening, and I have to tell her that, and I'm afraid to every single time. Some of those conversations have been like, look, obviously there's times when she's been disappointed or upset or hurt.
Sure.
When I say that I've relapsed, especially when we've just taken a lot of steps to try to make sure that it doesn't happen, and she's been involved in it. But the fact is, like, it's affecting her one way or another, whether I'm hiding it or not. And usually the effects of hiding it are worse for the both of us. For me individually, I feel way more anxiety, way more shame, way more horrible feelings when I know in the back of my head that I'm hiding something, and I feel all this guilt about that. And when I do just come clean and just say, I relapsed, today. And it's like, you immediately put your feet back on a road to recovery.
I think that's huge, because one, for me, my sense was that it's kind of enabling the addiction to keep it a secret.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much about porn addiction that's about doing something in the dark, quietly, without anybody knowing. And that's part of, I think, the rush that happens in your brain when you're doing it, if you have an addiction with pornography. And even just the act of sharing with somebody kind of is like weakening that addiction. And then also I'd say one thing that was huge realization is that whether or not you're telling the person, it's still affecting your relationship. It was so healing for me to realize so many times that we were having conflict or having issues, or like just kind of rubbing each other the wrong way, were enlightened by understanding that he may have been having an absolute like breakdown from trying to go through his withdrawal symptoms or whatever it was. And it's like, it really wasn't personal to me. So for anybody who's dealing with it from the opposite side, if you would be interested in a video about like kind of how to deal with it from the partner's perspective, and how to not take things personally, ideas of like how it might affect your self-worth, because it does, how it affects your ability to relate, communicate, so forth, let me know in the comments, because we're trying to kind of decide on the things we want to talk about.
I can do an entire video about shame, I'm sure, because shame is such a huge part of this, the way that it keeps the addiction alive, and keeps you stuck in that cycle of not getting better.
Right.
So we're gonna continue to do series of videos and dive into more specific aspects of this, because there's such a huge conversation here to be had. And next time we want to start talking about some of the benefits of things that can start to improve, like intimacy and sex life when these things start to get healed and put aside. And we've been practicing this exercise from this book called Cupid's Poisoned Arrow. Mm-hmm. It's got a list of daily practices at the end called the ecstatic exchanges that really kind of turned sex on its head. It turned sex on
its head in a big way. It turned just intimacy and our relation, and it made us like magnets. It's powerful, and it's very surprising. So if you're interested about that,
different than anything I'd ever seen.
Right. Definitely tune in, because we're going to kind of go into that a bit and how that's been like a really great tool in this healing journey, right?
For sure.
Yeah. For
sure. And we just restarted that process yesterday, actually, so we will have more to talk about that next time.
Yeah.
So yeah, please like and comment.
Subscribe, follow us if you like what we're talking about. Subscribe to our channel, because I think like the real reason we want to do this is to help people. I mean, it's helping us by just sharing our story, and that's kind of the blessing of all this challenge. but also I'd love to help somebody else who's going through this, and also get perspective from you. Like, what do you think? Do you agree with what we're saying? Do you disagree? Do you have more questions that you want us to answer? Like, we would love it, because that will kind of help us shape like our series and what we're going to talk about. And this is our first episode of The Love Seat, and you know, in general, we are twin soul poets, and we think we may have more videos in the future talking about love and relationships and meeting your twin soul and things like that. But we thought this was a great first way to start.
In the future too.
Right.
But yeah, I'm trying to follow my own advice. I mean, the last video that I had posted about my video log was saying share your story, and that's really my intention in this. And it's I'm facing my shame right now, because I am very afraid about putting this all out there online for anybody to see. But you know, it's important, and I know there's a lot of people suffering and that need help, and you know, it's important to talk about it.
It's a lot of courage, brother. I'm proud of him. I think it's amazing, and it takes a lot of courage, and like he's an amazing man, and it's really good. But thanks for watching.
Yeah. Tune in next time and let us know what you would like to hear more about. There's a lot of things to sink our teeth into with this. But we will see you soon.
We'll see you next time.